Hi, friends. Thanks for tuning in to the Mental Fitness Unscripted podcast, where our conversation will encourage your healthy living journey. Inspired by our Team Quadzilla coaching motto, healthy living starts between your ears, we talk about mental fitness in ways that challenge us to think about our thinking regarding topics like habits, leadership, exercise, values, marriage, parenting, and faith. Our hope with this podcast is to sharpen you as we sharpen ourselves to be all we were made to be. So let's dive right into the conversation on this episode of Mental Fitness Unscripted.
Yeah. So what's the big idea today? What do you think? What's been going on?
I've been reading a book, and I recommend it. I better look it up so I give you the right title and the right author. It's Gary Keller, and it's The One Thing, I think The One Thing. I can get Gary Keller, and it's called The One Thing.
Okay.
Do you remember the movie City Slickers?
Barely. Yeah.
It's old.
Yeah.
You remember the old cowboy? He's got the dude there, and they're on the
Yes.
horse, and he looks over, and they stop, and Curly, that's the cowboy that's on the ranch, and he's running everything. Looks over and he says, "There's one thing."
Mm.
And the guy goes, "Well, what's that one thing?" And see, he's trying to find trying to set his life right, and he thinks he's going to get the answer from this cowboy. There's one thing to life. This guy asks, he says, "Well, what's the one thing?" And the cowboy says, "That's what you've got to decide, is what the one thing is."
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Left him hanging. I don't know if you remember that or not. You'll have to
No,
look
I don't, but
at
that's
City Slickers, The One Thing. So
yeah.
anyway, that's what this book is about. Is just um, he uses a lot of the Pareto principle and just stacking it on top. So you got the 80-20. So what is the 80% of the 20? And what's
Mm.
the 80, what's the 20% of that 20? And, anyway, he just keeps breaking it down. And eventually what he wants to get to is one thing. And he uses a lot of examples, Apple. Um, when Steve Jobs came back in, I think it was 1997, they had all these products. And what he did was he just narrowed it down and just kept, and,
That's
and,
right.
and finally got it to one thing. And somebody interviewed him one time and he said, I'm proud of what we've done, but I'm most proud of what we haven't done. Just saying no to things and just sticking to
Mm.
their core value, their core one thing or whatever.
Yes.
Um, so that's kind of been on my brain. There's a I actually have it up on my screen here. That's why I look like I'm being inspired here. There's a talk, so a speech that was given by, his name is Albert E.N. Gray, Gray, and it's called The Common Denominator of Success. And it was given in 1940. So even
Mm.
before World War II, well, World War II was happening, but the United States was not in World War II in 1940. He gave this talk then, and it's interesting. He said, here's a summary of it: the common denominator of success, the secret of success of every man who has ever been successful, lies in the fact that he formed the habit of doing the things that failures don't like to do.
Mm.
So anyway, I recommend that. You can go find it on a PDF. It's called The Common Denominator of Success by Albert Gray.
And so that kind of aligns with the one thing that you're reading now. Yeah.
Well, you think about it, using the Pareto principle. It's the small things so 20%, what Pareto's principle says is 20% of what you do creates 80% of what your results are. Okay, so it's small things, it's small leverage things that bring um, most of what you have. And what's funny is in this book, it even talks about a guy that took Pareto's thinking, and actually did a full study on it, and did quite a bit of research, and wrote about it. I can't remember the guy's name, but I can find it. But anyway, he said you can actually break it down to where it's 90% creates or excuse me, 20% creates 90% of what you have, or he breaks it down, even though it doesn't create 100. You know,
Hmm. The math is funny.
right? The math is all funny, but he says what his thought is that just those small things leveraged creates the big things that we have. Is what it summarizes to. So back to the one thing. So if you find the one thing that leverages everything that you want in life, if you can just break it down and make it smaller and smaller, and find that one thing, you'll have most of everything that you want.
Yeah.
And
So
what's
I wonder if he's thinking, is there like a strategy or a process for each person to find what that is, or what is how does he get there?
The book does go through kind of a strategy, yes. It's more of concepts and principles so that you can find your own. But yes, it is a
Hmm.
strategy to where you work it down to and he calls it niching it down. But just finding that one thing that just does everything. I What's interesting is he says the things that leverage most are the quietest things.
Oh, that's interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
In your spiritual life, um, we can ignore it, and all the other things are just distracting us. But if you pay attention to the quiet thing, and what that quiet thing is how do I find my spirituality? Well, I find it in the quiet times, or I find it in my study of scripture, or I find it in prayer. I find it in meditation, just whatever the, how many people wake up in the morning and go, man, I can hardly wait to meditate today.
Yeah.
Man, I can hardly wait to pray. Um,
Yeah.
but so it's those quiet things. It's like your business. And I don't know your business well enough, but there are just those little tiny things that if you pay attention to them, it changes everything. Maybe it's how you organize the project management, and if you do it the night before and you plan what you're going to move the next day the night before, then you can attack it, and the distractions don't become so urgent because you've made the decision prior to that. Does that make sense? So the one thing was that little time out that you took the night before just to prepare yourself. Now, will the distractions and urgency come in? Absolutely. It's life. It's just going to
Yeah.
happen. But you've centered yourself on, okay, this is the one thing that I'm going to focus on that I know will get me down the road. I mean, filing stuff and organizing stuff and getting a new app, and those are all great, and they all help with our efficiency and our product, our, what do I want to say, productiveness. You know, they all help with that. But when it comes down to it, it's the quiet things. It's the things that we know deep in our gut that if I do
Hmm.
this, that I'll, you know, in our
But
physical.
isn't that the problem with us, or as humanity, though, is that we're always looking for some new shiny fancy thing that's gonna do for us what we hope for, and we're always chasing after the next thing, and it doesn't work, and so we go after the next one, and then the next one, and around we go, and this is the hamster wheel that we run
Yep.
on life, trying to figure out what is the thing that's going to give me all of whatever it is that I think that I really want. And
it sounds to me, as you're describing this, that the author is saying, okay, please get off the hamster wheel
Hmm.
and let's think about things that are very small or very simple. And then, like some other of our leadership mentors have taught us, is be just extraordinarily consistent in that very small thing. Even Jesus says that.
Yep.
He says, if you will be faithful in the very small and simple things, your life will be incredible. So don't be worried about doing some great big fancy thing.
Yep.
Just do the small and the simplest task or activity or habit or whatever, and
Yep.
then watch that multiply and compound over time, right?
Yep.
So I
And
think that, yeah, that checks out.
it happens over and over. Me jumping on the treadmill this morning and just doing it once, does that contribute to my day? Absolutely. But if I don't do it tomorrow, um, it just undoes what I've done. And unfortunately, I mean, there are things that if you do it, you've got it. Um, you know, I collect little cars here. I've got a whole bunch right here in front of me. Here's my here's my all-time dream car right there. Okay.
Nice.
Um, I've got a little seriously, that's my all. I have several dream cars, but that's my all-time favorite. And if I could get one, I would, but that's not going to happen. The last
Yeah.
one, the last one sold for $63 million. So
Oh, well, yeah,
just a drop in the bucket.
sure.
So I've got that. I have it. I have it. The little collection. I've got it. I've achieved it. It's not like I have to keep buying that every day. So
Yeah.
what it is. I look at it like this: life exacts from us rent every day,
Mm,
and if I don't do the right things, life will not return to me what I want to rent. If I
mm,
if I want success, I don't get it. I rent it.
yeah.
Okay. I'll give you an example. You just did that bike race, right? How many was that? 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, it's over a month already. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Anyway, you did that bike race, right? It's over. Are you wearing the medal?
They didn't even give me a medal.
They didn't even give you a medal. Okay.
Yeah.
But even if they gave you a medal, how you've done races where you get the medal, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
When do you wear it?
Yeah. For a couple hours, maybe.
Maybe at the
Yeah.
most. They put it on you. Congratulations. Yeah, great. That's great. And then we hang it up on our wall, right?
Yeah. Right.
The
It's
funny
done.
thing, I've got a whole bunch of them in here. In fact, I'll point to it right there. I've got three right there. See that
Mm.
triangle? Okay, there's
Hmm.
three right there. Well, there's one on the wall. I can't get my finger there, but anyway, that little gold thing. I've got one. That means nothing now because I've
Right.
got to go get the next one. And see, that's what I'm talking about is the rent. That medal, yeah, I did it. That's great. But that does not make me successful at the next one.
Yeah.
It's a great
Yep.
reminder.
What have you done for me lately? Says
Life.
life. Yeah. And so
Okay.
it's being constant and whatever it
Yeah,
is. I mean, we can't expect a future result if we're not willing to do the daily.
exactly. Okay. Earlier before the recording, we were talking about blood work.
Mm.
You know, if I do blood work once, I should be good, right? No,
Yeah,
we do
exactly.
we do the blood work to see what's going on with us and what I need to
Yep.
change or augment or maybe keep doing. But the point is I have to augment or I have to change or I have to keep doing every day.
Yeah.
I have to pay that rent every day. If I want to do well at the next race, yeah, I've got awards. But if I'm going to do well at the next one, I got to pay the rent today,
Yeah.
every day. So
And so further to that idea is our inclination might be that it's some enormous or elaborate or complicated thing that we have to do. And this is why so many people don't succeed, I think, because I wrestle just like everybody else,
we
is we
all do.
become distracted in these things and then discouraged because it is too hard or we can't do it. And then we just give up. And then we default to the lazy boy and we just sit there and rot away when there's really a much different approach to be taken. And likely that's where this book is trying to encourage us, is that,
Find that one.
man, just slow it down, simplify, do the small, simple thing consistently and do it well, get really good at that, and then watch compounding do its magic.
And that's the
Yeah.
magic, is that rent paid every day will compound. And
Yeah.
whatever you want to fix, find that one thing and just do
Yeah.
that. And to your point, compounding that. And looking back on it, you'll look at it and go, man, that's enormous. See, that's
Hmm.
we're coming up on the season of New Year's resolutions.
Yeah. Oh boy.
And we all smile at that. I'm right in the middle of right now of doing my goals. I've got them right over here. I'm right in the middle of doing, I'm almost done, but I'm finalizing my goals. But what I've done is I've got a plan for how I'm going to do those. And I've found those few things. I've got three things, and I know that's not one thing, but I've got three things that if I do on a regular basis, I know that and I'm talking about my business. I think you have to find one thing in each avenue of your life. The
Yeah.
physical, your business, your spiritual, your emotional, your social. I think you have to find one thing that you just do on a regular basis to build that. I actually have three in my business. So what is
You're
it
an
that
overachiever.
no. when it when
Well,
it when it comes down to it, it really is one thing, but there's three things I need to pay attention to in that one thing. So
yeah. So if this might be a bit of a funny question, perhaps, but do you think there could be a universal one thing? Or is it entirely unique for every person?
I think generally, and I'm going to explain why. I think generally there is one thing for all of us. Now, because you and I are unique, and I'm the only, I'm a snowflake. Okay, there is no other snowflake on this earth like me.
Right?
And so I
Yeah.
think that uniqueness is that I have to take that one thing that I think is universal and apply it to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's what I believe is truth is truth. We can we can try and innovate truth all to death, and we'll be discouraged and really frustrated. But if I take a truth and my application and the process of how I apply that truth, so if I take the truth and I make it solid, my application can actually be innovated.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
I agree with that. I mean,
Okay.
that's where the uniqueness and individuality of each person, um, plays out that what is true in its unique way.
Yep.
But I was kind of hoping you would say that, because I think that we make this too hard. We make
We do.
life too hard.
We
And
do.
if we could get a firm grasp on something so simple about what is true and unshakable and immovable, and that we can count on forever, it's entirely trustworthy. Anyone listening here may probably know where I'm headed with this, but apart from having that, um, I think whatever else that we're chasing for that one thing is gonna miss.
It is. It will fail every time. It's like gravity. gravity works, okay, and it's true.
Yeah.
And even though I don't like it, especially when I'm falling, I really
Yeah.
hate gravity when I'm falling. But I can't change it. I can only change me.
Yeah.
I can only change my application to gravity. Airplanes flying need gravity, but what they do is they use gravity to their advantage and fly.
Right.
Does that make sense? And so
Absolutely.
it's
Yep.
the innovation of how we apply it, not trying to change the truth because for whatever reason I don't believe in it, or it's
Yeah.
it's like the law of the harvest or the law of the farm, whatever you want to call it. I can't cram wanting a harvest. I have to plant the seeds. I have to nurture
Yes.
them. I have to water them. I have to weed the garden. I have to let it mature on its own. I can't rip it out and say, okay, are the roots growing? Oh, are they growing now? I can't
Mm-hmm.
I can't cram that. I can't shorten that. But now, can I do innovative things in how I do that, like applying the watering and how I plant things? And yes, I can do that. I can innovate the process. By the way, we've got less than a minute here, so
Oh no.
we're going to get cut off. But anyway, truth is truth. We have to accept it and then innovate how we apply the truth.
Yes. Agreed. This is the one thing.
One thing.
And I would love to talk to people more about harvesting their one thing and applying that to their life, because I think this is so important.
Well, let's do it. Let's do some more
Yeah.
of this.
Yeah. That sounds great. Good stuff today, Todd.
Good stuff.